Hello, everyone, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in Medford, Oregon. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, Spiritual Director here, and I'm so grateful you all decided to join us for this celebration. We are an inclusive, open, and affirming spiritual community dedicated to teaching spiritual tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everybody. And we welcome you no matter where you happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. With me this morning is practitioner Nancy Clay, who in a moment will be doing our opening prayer and reading. And our musicians this morning are Anton Miserak and Laura Berryhill, who now have our opening song.
A song by a friend of ours, Michael Gott.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place. I will make a quiet place.
As we come together this morning, on this bright Sunday morning, the theme that comes to mind for me is light. The sun is so bright after coming out from the smoke. And we know that the light was one of the primary concerns of the Creator when it created life on this planet. There was light. Let there be light. We always follow the light. Light brings light is what we are following when we want to know what is true, what is good. And we know that the one who created us, who created life, has brought life about on this planet for all of us, and that we are all one with that Creator who created everything, and that the light is what we follow, and light brings hope, and light brings peace, and light is eternal, as are our souls, as all of creation. And so bringing this light into my heart and bringing this light to you this morning, we say together, with great gratitude for all that is, and so it is. So I'm still on the subject of light. And we're just coming into a bright, shiny day after a week of so much smoke and so much turmoil and so much cloudiness in our environment that when I was thinking about it this morning, I thought that what I felt I needed and what the sun provided for me this morning is encouragement. And so I've chosen a reading from Science of Mind magazine to offer us encouragement. And it's called Light at the End of the Tunnel. Believe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Believe that you might be that light for someone else. Believe the best is yet to be. Every sense of doubt of any kind is wiped away in the knowledge that today is the day God has made, and I am made glad in it. Holding on to hope is an inside job. It ignites a part of me that knows there's light at the end of the tunnel. It helps me hang on when circumstances are rough. In a moment of great fear, hope whispers, find gratitude, find gratitude. Gratitude cuts through my terror to help me find my footing. Asking what I am grateful for leads to initial answers such as, I am breathing. My feet are on the ground. There's a roof over my head. The sun is shining. I'm okay, and this too shall pass. The situation will always get better. As I walk through the challenge, gratitude invites me to notice small, everyday experiences and be grateful for them. Hope and gratitude are alive in me, allowing the light at the end of the tunnel to become a reality in my life and in all of our lives. Darkness may be the absence of visible light, but it doesn't mean the light isn't there. The light at the end of the tunnel is present always. I lean into the presence of the divine light, knowing that I'm not alone. And this I pray. Dear beloved one, I pray for myself and others. May all those who are hurting feel your comfort, the frightened realize their inner courage and strength, and the angry awaken to inner peace. Hold us all so fully in the light of your love that we know we are safe. Your love is so big that it contains and heals us all. And for this, I am grateful. Amen. We have an affirmation to go with this reading, and it is this. Hope, gratitude, and prayer are alive in me, reminding me and all of us of the divine light that guides my way and guards our way and leads us on. And we can say together, and so it is.
A song based on a wonderful poem by Rabindranath Tagore, set to music by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird, fly like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh, flies away.
Ah, thank you so much, Laura and Anton. Darkness like a dark bird flies away. And thank you to Nancy for the beautiful reading about the light. I have entitled my message this morning, Spiritual Rain. Monday morning, after I lead a spiritual community call from 9 to 9:30, and after that I hopped on a minister's call, many ministers, almost 200 of them from our CSL denomination. Usually we meet once a year for a ministers' gathering in different cities around the country, and clearly this year with COVID and the dangers of traveling and assembling in large groups, we did the gathering online on Zoom. So I joined the call, and it was interesting. You know, typically in one of our meetings, we start with a prayer treatment, as we did this morning, and then we sometimes do a brief meditation. Well, the spiritual practice on this Monday morning for the ministers' gathering, 3 different Science of Mind ministers did a lengthy treatment. I think the topic that morning was healing from COVID. And after each treatment, a lengthy meditation. And I'm sitting there, truthfully, kind of tuned in, but I'm multitasking because Monday mornings are busy for me. I'm getting my Sunday team an email about the topic and the newspaper and all that. And I get a text from my dear friend and colleague, Reverend Linda Rapon, and the text says, OMG, this is spiritual rain. And I knew right away what she meant. Spiritual rain. In other words, she was soaking up the truth, the hope, the light, the affirmations, the consciousness of oneness that the ministers were praying about. And in the meditation, we were letting it seep in. And I realized I was missing out by multitasking. Ever do that? You know, you're not really present to one thing or the other. So I began to really tune in. And I loved that expression, spiritual rain, because right now, in the West, where we've had these devastating I keep wanting to say wildflowers, I guess I wish they were, wildfires. The earth has been so dry, the temperature's hot, the wind's strong. And so with this parched earth, the idea of rain is so appealing. We've all been praying for it, and parts of Oregon, thank God, have received a nice soaking rain, like up in Portland. But I think, too, the metaphor is one for our souls and our emotions. We've felt, I believe, a bit dry, a bit parched, haven't we? All the challenges we have faced these last 6 months, beginning with COVID and the debate about how to best resolve COVID. We wear a mask or not, do we open or not? All the acrimony politically that's going on in our country, fueled now once again by the tragic death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, an icon for freedom and justice, and what's going to happen now at the Supreme Court. And in addition to COVID, of course, there was the incredible racial unrest. And the good side of that, I think, being an awakening among many white people about the injustice that still is very rampant in our country for people of color. Then came the wildfires. It just seems like it's been one thing after another. I know it's been very, very, very challenging. And so here in this feeling of being parched and dry and challenged, this spiritual rain that came to the ministers on Monday was so, so very welcome. But the metaphor extends a bit. You know, we were told during the fires not to use non-essential water. So don't water your yards, don't water your gardens. And then finally, in the last few days, we were allowed to use water again. And I read a little advice from the Medford Water Company that said, when the earth is really parched, when the garden's really dry, don't try to soak it and drench it all at once. The best way to prepare the soil to receive the rain is to do briefer periods of watering, but more frequently. And I thought, wow, I think the same is true for watering our souls. It probably does not suffice for most of us right now in these challenging times to do spiritual practice in the morning and forget about it for the rest of the day. I think we need to prepare our souls, prepare our hearts to really receive the truth, the hope, the oneness, the consciousness that will heal the planet and heal everything that's going on. And I think that's what was going on Monday morning, and Tuesday and Wednesday. We kept meeting, and we kept doing 3 different treatments followed by 3 different meditations. So I offer that as just a reminder for how we all might prepare to receive spiritual rain, spiritual truth, to be drenched in truth, to be drenched in the knowing that our prayers, our collective consciousness is so powerful, that those prayers are answered. And what we hope to see, we can indeed see when we focus on the power and presence that is in and around and through each and every one of us. In speaking with many, many people in our community the last couple weeks, in addition to those who have lost homes and are kind of stunned and in shock right now, for those of us who still have our homes, one thing I noticed is that a lot of people are feeling a little bit of what I would call survivor's guilt. You know, I may be complaining about this and that and the other thing, but really I have a home, as Nancy read about in her prayer. I have a warm place to be, a safe place to be. And I'm just thinking that, you know, in this time, whether we're challenged by losing our homes or we're challenged by trying to be compassionate and pray for others and give financial support to others and material support to others, what is really important to remember is to continue to practice self-care, because we don't have anything to give to others if we don't give to ourselves first. One of the speakers in our minister gathering this week, a very powerful, powerful author and teacher, Dr. Shakti Butler, said this, and I share it with you because I just love it. She said, you must give yourself to yourself before you can give yourself to others. You must give yourself to yourself before you can give yourself to others. I think this is one more way that we can prepare our souls, our psyches, to receive spiritual rain, to receive spiritual sustenance, which is always available to us. Just like the Israelites who received manna from heaven each day, just what they needed was sent down and they were provided for. The other reminder from my experience of multitasking, which was not very fulfilling, is for all of us to really treasure the present moment and to be present with what the task is we're choosing at the moment. Once I settled in and let go of all the tasks that I need to do for my job and focused on that beautiful practice that was being offered through Zoom from my amazing high consciousness ministers in this movement, it was so fulfilling, so very fulfilling. And I was able to soak it up. In our teaching, it is very important to turn away from conditions because we know that conditions are not permanent. They're created by our consciousness, and they can shift. And I think all of us know about this particular aspect of our teaching. Ernest Holmes put it this way. He said, we must resolutely turn away from every experience which has been negative, from every experience which has been a failure, and from every experience which denies God. So true, and that's what we were doing in this ministers' gathering. We were praying knowing that COVID is going to be cured, that it's in the process of being cured, that the country is one and coming together and has the potential to come together in cooperation and collaboration rather than disputes and conflicts. And it was a powerful practice to pray for the result, I think, as somebody in the room said, to pray for what it is we want to see. Pray for the answer. That's how he put it. Pray for the answer. And we know that what we focus on expands, so what we resist persists. So now I'm going to expand on this idea of turning away from the condition. I think in Science of Mind, we focus a lot on turn away from the condition, focus on what you want to see. And that is absolutely a good thing to do. But there's a but, there's a caveat here. We can't just ignore the condition that is existing, and especially we can't resist it. So I don't know about you, but I felt some impatient times lately in the last 6 months. When is this going to be over? When are we going to be able to come together in community again? When are we going to be able to go to the store without wearing masks? When are we going to be able to hug each other? In the last couple of weeks, it was when is this air going to clear? We had hazardous air quality for a week here. When is this going to end? When are these fires going to end? When is the political climate in this country going to reflect the truth that we are one, that we're each divine expressions? On and on and on. Ever feel that way? You know, when is this going to happen? And so by resisting what is, focusing on that, what we resist persists. So while on the one hand we're called to turn away from the condition, turn to what we want, on the other hand we're called to accept what is for right now with equanimity, not with resistance. And I hope that that's making some sense. I've focused on that for myself this past week because I realized I have been in resistance. I've been sort of waiting with bated breath for this to end and that to end and this to shift and that to shift. So when we can have faith that it is shifting in absolute divine time, when we can have faith that what is going on right now is not a stumbling block but a stepping stone, as I spoke about last week, and we all can see good. We can see good from the racial unrest that's going on because our awareness has exponentially, I think, increased, and I believe that there's really a possibility for change in this country as there never has been before. So when we resist and when we just wait for things to get over, we miss the present moment, just as I was doing during that call on Monday morning. So I want to share with you a story that I ran across today that I think really illustrates the power in acceptance. It's a story in a book called The Gift of Acceptance by Janine Shepherd. Janine Shepherd, in 1986, was on the Australian Olympic ski team, and she was training for the Winter Olympics in Calgary. She was so excited as a young skier to not only go to the Olympics, but to put Australia on the map as a power, which is something I don't think most of us think about when we think about who are the powerful Olympic skiers, right? But she was on a training ride, a bike ride, with her teammates when she was struck from behind by a utility truck. And it ended in devastating injuries. She almost died. She barely made it. She was left with what they call partial paralysis. She was a partial paraplegic. She went through months of surgeries and crises where they weren't sure she was going to pull through. She went through some depression afterwards because you can imagine, as an Olympic skier, she couldn't even walk. One day she was sitting outside in her wheelchair and looked up at the sky and a plane flew by. And she thought to herself, I can't walk right now, but I could fly. And so the seed was planted for her to get flight instructions and learn to fly a plane. Well, not only did she do that, she got her license, she got a commercial license eventually, she got her instructor's credentials, and she became an instructor in aerobatic flying. Amazing, amazing transformation. And in addition, she began to do speaking, inspirational speaking, talking about her experience and what she had learned. So it was really a turnaround in her life. And she talked about, at one point, she said, when she decided to take action rather than, stay in that depression, she said, I had a deeper understanding that there was something larger at work. And that gave me something to hope for and to fight for. I think that's a really good thing for us all to remember in the midst of challenges, that there is always something larger at work. There is a spirit, a God, a source, an exquisite, absolute divine order that is in charge always, unfolding always, even when we can't see it through the smoke, metaphorically and physically. So, the accident happened, but she decided that she could treat all of life's challenges as she did the hills when she was training. She could work hard and see them as something that was going to grow her and make her stronger. Eventually, she got married, had children, which was something she didn't know for sure she'd be able to do. And I want to read you a little portion from her book here. She says, it was the seemingly intangible qualities, the mental attributes I had developed over a lifetime as an athlete that gave me the resilience and fortitude to hang in there despite the overwhelming odds against me. Courage, determination, commitment, responsibility, self-sacrifice, and so on, perseverance, gratitude, to name a few. These were the tools that I used to rebuild my life. But ultimately, she realized that there was one thing more than anything else that allowed her to change her life. And you're going to be surprised when you hear what it is. She met a woman in one of her speaking engagements in Australia that had 7 children and had lost a child. And Janine said to the woman, I'm so sorry. And the woman said, oh no, dear, don't feel sorry for me. Just like you, I've been given the gift of acceptance. And the light went on for Janine. The woman said, no matter what happens in life, you've just got to get on with it. You can't spend time saying, I can't wait for this to be over, or I'm sorry this happened, or bemoaning it. You have to go on. So here's what Janine writes here. The clarity I had searched for so long was staring me in the face. Acceptance was the quality that came before everything else, and it had enabled me to move forward and find a new direction in life. This is kind of new news for Science of Mind students because we're always taught turn away from the condition, but we have to accept what is first. We have to be present to what is first. We have to receive it with equanimity, knowing that it can shift and that we have the power and the guidance to do so. She said, I knew I couldn't change what had happened, but I could change the way I saw my life from that point on. Allowing, not resisting, accepting what had happened to me had opened the door to possibilities I never before considered were possible. The art of surrendering to the stillness and allowing deeper level of self-love, peace, and acceptance into my life was a powerful, powerful practice. Wow. And as part of it, she says, paradoxically, now when she's in a state of non-acceptance, she accepts that too. So that's part of the practice of loving ourselves and being kind to ourselves. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful story. And for me, at least, it was a reminder to stop resisting what is, to accept what is, to focus on what I want to see in the world, to take guided action, to take time to get still, to hear that still small voice for the guidance. One of our books of the month this month is Richard Rohr's Falling Upward. And in that book, he talks about non-dualistic thinking. In other words, both and thinking, which means accepting what is and knowing a greater possibility. He says, we no longer divide the field between up or down, totally right or wrong, with me or against me. This goes again to what I was talking about earlier this month about stumbling blocks are not all bad. The challenges in life become fodder for our growth. They open a space for wonderful things to happen, for new things to happen. So Rohr talks about what he calls the 7 C's of delusion, which are what we get into when we're doing dualistic thinking. So the 7 C's of delusion are comparing, competing, conflicting, conspiring, condemning. A lot of us doing that recently, yeah? Condemning. Canceling out any contrary evidence, and then crucifying with impunity. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So as I thought about this and thought about what would be non-dualistic thinking, accepting everything, embracing everything, and going back to truth, allowing that spiritual rain to fortify us and remind us that we're all spiritual beings doing the best we can, I came up with the 7 C's of non-dualistic thinking. So instead of compare, compete, conflict, conspire, condemn, canceling, and crucifying, here's what I remembered that will help me change my thinking. Because we know Ernest Holmes told us, change our thinking, change our life. So the 7 C's of non-dualistic thinking are care, compassion, courtesy, sometimes just common courtesy, for example, towards someone who has a different political view, and not attacking, not trying to change, but being courteous. Cooperation, collaboration, community, and consciousness. Consciousness is everything. So when I think about these C's and I think about the interesting times we find ourselves in with this acrimonious political stuff going on in the midst of our election and campaign, I'd like to read you a beautiful writing from our founder, Ernest Holmes. I'm going to read you excerpts from a sermon he gave, which he gave right at the beginning of the Korean War conflict. So this was in 1950. It is written up in Essential Earnest, which is one of the classes that I'm teaching right now along with Nancy Clay, and it's from the book Essential Earnest. And I think you will be struck, as I was, at how pertinent this writing is today. In his radio address, Ernest Holmes gave these excerpts as part of his sermon. As never before, our thoughts, our meditations, our hopes, and our prayers must rise in one common accord. And you and I should form the habit of taking definite time each day to pray for peace and justice. For there is no peace possible without justice. We should take time each day to pray, to know, and to meditate on the thought, and to meditate affirmatively with complete acceptance that our leaders everywhere are being guided by the all-sustaining wisdom and upheld by the all-sustaining power of good. And we should pray for the peace of our own minds, that we shall not become confused. He goes on to say, but faith without works is dead. We should not only pray, we should act, each contributing the best he has to the common purpose, each willing to make any sacrifice necessary, not a sacrifice reluctantly made, but as one who offers all he has for 2 great purposes. One, in a certain sense, a selfish one, for we all desire self-preservation, but the other, in the greater sense, that there can be no individual self-preservation without the preservation of all. For if the whole nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power, an actual soul force, will penetrate the whole world, helping to bring confidence and calm judgment and right action until the crisis shall have passed. Freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of right, and faith will always conquer fear. Faith will always conquer fear. Finally, Holmes wrote, or spoke, "The world is perhaps at the point of the greatest crisis in all human history, and there seem to be two attitudes we can assume. One is calmness, faith, and conviction. The other would be despair. And despair is unthinkable. Let us, each in his own way, dedicate his time, service, and hope, and spiritual conviction to the common cause of liberty and justice for all. And let's work without tiring and pray without ceasing. We know that on the battlefront in the rear guard, something alive with meaning is taking place. Something vibrant with hope is happening. Something latent with possibility of the future is being conceived." Oh, let's breathe that in. Some powerful words by Ernest Holmes in 1950, which I think are still very applicable today. So before we wrap up, I would like us to do a meditation. And so I'm going to invite us, this is kind of unusual in the middle of my talk to do this, but I want to invite us to go to that still small place. This is part of the practice of preparing our souls, which may have become parched by all of the conflict and chaos going on around us right now. Let's take a moment to breathe, to turn within. As Anton and Laura play for us, I'm going to read a series of statements from Janine Shepherd from her beautiful book about acceptance to lay the groundwork for us to prepare for spiritual rain, to be fortified by spiritual rain, to raise our consciousness in not only hope but faith and conviction that everything works together for the good. So breathing in and breathing out. Let's take in these words. I know that the moment you let go of inner resistance to pain and suffering, you open a window to the divine. Breathing in and breathing out with each statement, soaking it up. I stop asking why and begin to ask. I stop asking why me and begin to ask, why not me? I see that a simple act of forgiveness is an opening to divine grace. Breathing in and breathing out, I begin to see that meeting my own needs does not make me selfish, and that when I meet my own needs, I am more able to meet the needs of others. I can tell that getting older has nothing to do with age and everything to do with attitude. I understand that loving the hills or challenges in life is about cultivating the virtues of the heart. I no longer judge others. Everybody is doing their best with where they are at any given time, including me. Breathing in and breathing out. I ask myself constantly, what is the gift in this? I see that healing comes not through running from the pain, but living through the experience. I see that we all have a spark of divinity within us. We are all connected by a common thread. Breathing in and breathing out. I begin to understand that although life might not seem perfect right now, the present circumstances are perfect. I see that even when I feel like I have lost it all, that loss was necessary to make room for the life that awaits me. I give myself permission to feel it all. I can sit with every emotion, knowing that even my tears have a purpose, and they are just as important as the moments of laughter. I know that I no longer have to struggle for the answers. In perfect time, the solutions to my problems arise from the quiet place in my heart. And finally, I know that inside me there is a place of security, stillness, and peace, the heart and mind of God, with which I am forever connected. So I hope your soul is soaking up some of that spiritual rain as I open myself to accept what is as the starting place to listening, to taking guided action, to being grateful and present to what is, to letting go of multitasking, and to fully appreciating this now moment. As Richard Rohr wrote about, we are all falling upward, not only as we age and become spiritually mature, but we are falling upward, moving from an ego-centered life to a God-centered life. And everything that's occurring, everything, no matter how challenging it may seem or have seemed, is a stepping stone to our greater good. In the meanwhile, when we feel parched, when we feel dry, when we begin to feel hopeless or depressed, we can recognize that we need to prepare our souls, prepare our innermost being to receive the spiritual rain that is always available to us. The truth that we are one, that God is good and that God wants nothing more than the highest and best for us all. and that when we work to make sure everyone's needs are met, that everyone indeed receives justice and freedom, abundance and love, respect, that we are all blessed. So let us soak up that spiritual rain. Let us pray without ceasing. And let us go to prayer right now, if you will. As I allow myself to settle into this beautiful now moment, accepting what is, and yet knowing that as I do that, I remember that there is only one power, my friends, one power. God is all there is. Love, truth, oneness, beauty, order, wisdom, intelligence is all there is. That power, that source infuses all of life. Every single sentient being on the planet is birthed from God's stuff. Spiritual rain means knowing we are provided for at every moment. We are never in want. There is no such thing as a loss. Everything that happens is a gift. Perhaps we can't see it right now, and we can accept that too. We can accept that we don't know the answers, but there is one mind that does know the answers, and that mind lives within each one of us. So as we recommit to the practices that prepare our souls to receive spiritual rain, and it can come from so many sources, from music, from prayer, from the quiet times, from reading uplifting literature, from turning away when we need to from the news, from turning away from what one of our speakers called this week the negaholics in our life. When we reach out for prayer, when we reach out for support, when we reach out to give support, we're preparing our souls to remember who we are and to remember who each one is, even those with whom we may vehemently disagree. When we stop resisting and start accepting, that is the springboard to creating something new and better and more powerful than we've ever seen before. And so I pray for our country this day. I pray knowing that our leaders are guided beautifully by that one divine intelligence. I pray to know that each of us does our internal work so that we can stop blaming and hurling insults and start accepting and seeing the God in each one of us. I know that our situation, whatever it may be, personally or as a country, politically, economically, is spiraling upward, that there's a new dawn happening, and that as we commit to our spiritual practices, as we commit to seeing the divine everywhere, everything unfolds for the greatest good of all concerned. I say a prayer for those who are homeless right now due to the wildfires. I say a prayer for all beings across the globe who are challenged, knowing God is right where they are, and knowing that God in people around have that heart that wants to give, that wants to support. We are one. And so knowing that God, through everyone, through the hands, the hearts, the voice of each one, supports, guides, lifts each of us. I'm so grateful to know there is only one power. I'm so grateful to know that it is alive and thriving within each of us, and that as we turn to it, as we listen to it, we are eventually guided to exactly what we need to do. I'm so grateful that we practice self-care, that we give ourselves to ourselves so that we can give ourselves to others. I'm so grateful for this teaching. I'm grateful for all the spiritual communities across the globe that all teach there is only one God, many paths as we know. And that as we do unto others as we would have done to us, we create a better world. So saying a prayer that each of our hearts might be prepared to receive whatever it is we need to know, to do, to think. I simply release in gratitude this prayer right now, knowing, as all prayers, it is heard, it is answered, it is done, and we say together, and so it is. Amen. Laura and Anton once again.
A piece written back at Unity Village that I named Autumn Rains.
Nisagamapa, Mapa Ganesa, Nisagamapa, Mapa Sa, Nida Nida Pa, Dapa Dapa Ma, Pada Pamaga, Dapa, Nisagamapa, Mapa Ganesa, Nisagamapa, Mapa Sa, Nida Nida Pa, Dapa Dapa Ma, Pada Pamaga, Dapa, Dinna Din Din, Nana Tinna, Din Din, Nana Dinna, Din Din, Nana Tinna, Din, Dari Nana, Dinna Din Din, Nana Tinna, Din Din, Nana Dinna, Din Din, Nada.
Now that was some spiritual rain. Anton and Laura, thank you so very much. It is now the time in our service for sacred giving, another beautiful spiritual practice that reminds us to be conscious of all the good that comes to us and to make the decision to share a portion of it to the places where we're spiritually fed. So we'll do an affirmation now for that process. If you will, metaphorically take your gift and place it over your heart as we say together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. There are several ways you can give to the Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley so that we might continue our ministry, especially in these times of social isolation. Excuse me, you can mail us a check, CSL Rogue Valley, to Post Office Box 1458, Medford, Oregon. You can go to our website, cslroguevalley.org, and hit the donate button. You can make a regular contribution to support our ministry. You can also click on the area that says emergency relief if you'd like to give to the victims of the wildfires in Oregon. Or we are happy to report that we now have a donate button right here on our Facebook page. So if you're watching us live, you can simply click on that donate button. A few announcements. We continue to do a morning spiritual practice call Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 9:30 on Zoom. Information is in our weekly e-newsletter, which comes out on Wednesday. If you'd like to sign up for that, go to the email sign up here on our Facebook page. We have now also added a Thursday evening spiritual practice call from 7 to 7:30. Let's see, what else? Not too late to join two of our classes. This is the last week to join our Essential Earnest class, which happens on Monday evenings. Again, information on our website, and Wednesday evening we have a Foundations of Science of Mind class. Also starting this week on Thursday afternoon is Seth, Quantum Physics and the Ultimate Reality. That's Thursday afternoon. So check out our website for information about all of those exciting classes. Yeah, that's about it. We're going to go to a closing song, and then I have a special benediction for you this morning, honoring the life of the beloved Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But first, our closing song.
Spiritual rain, grace, unexpected blessings. We're going to end with a classic for you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to sing, and grace my fears relieves. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me
Thank you, thank you. Anton Miserak and Laura Berryhill. Oh, what a beautiful reminder. Grace, grace always, always is and works all around and through us. Before we leave, I want to thank the amazing team that comes every Sunday to make this broadcast possible. Our producer director, Bill Miner. Camera people this morning are Randy Clark, Shannon Schnibbe, and Connie Miner. Our sound engineer, Tom Frederick. And of course, thanks to both Nancy Clay, our practitioner, and our beautiful musicians, Anton and Laura. So let's just take a moment, if you will, to bless and give thanks for the beautiful, powerful, courageous life of a diminutive woman, barely 5 foot something tall, barely over 5 foot tall, named Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who through her courage, her intelligence, her amazing dedication, fought and continued to fight, even through cancer, for compassion, for justice, for freedom, and who has inspired so many of us. May her legacy live on and inspire and work through each one of us. Blessings to Ruth and her family and to our entire government this day and this week as we grieve her passing, but celebrate the gifts she leaves behind. And I'm going to leave you with a small excerpt from Ernest Holmes' Prayer for Our Country, which I think, again, is very pertinent for right now. The all-knowing mind contains the answer to every problem which confronts this country. I know that every leader in this country is now directed by this all-knowing mind and has the knowledge of a complete solution to every problem. Each is impelled to act upon this knowledge to the end that abundance, security, and peace shall come to all. And I know that this spiritual democracy shall endure, guaranteeing to everyone in this country personal liberty, happiness, and self-expression. Blessings, my friends. Blessings, and goodbye for now.